here. Thanks everyone for coming. So my name is Leila, and today we are going to be doing comics for a new world. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I had in mind for that in a minute here, but I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. Skipped ahead here. So welcome everyone. Again, thanks for being here. My name is Leila. I'm a Palestinian artist. I got my start early on in comics sort of through organizing and activism and wanting to kind of make work that could speak to my experience as a Palestinian as well, because, you know, I didn't feel like there were too many stories out there that reflected my experience, my family's experience. And so my first graphic novel was a book called Badawi, which is about my dad's childhood growing up in a Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon. So I started sort of from that memoir place and trying to sort of like remember and preserve history through comics. And lately, I've been really interested in the ways that art and comics can be used also to dream up new worlds. As anyone who loves comics knows, comics are a great medium for inventing all kinds of fantastic, amazing worlds and building those worlds out in sometimes in a lot of detail and visualizing what they look like. And so today I have for us a series of exercises that can maybe guide us through starting to use comics in that way. And so my hope today is that this can be a space for us to, you know, with all the heaviness in the world right now, to sort of use this space maybe to think about what kind of world we'd like to see instead of being caught up in you know, all of the anxieties that the world is right now. And also maybe as a starting point for an experiment in using comics in this way, you know, just in terms of thinking about what kind of world we might want to develop and how we might visualize it. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. So just before we get started, take a second, grab some supplies. I would say for this particular workshop, we're going to want some scrap paper or a journal for brainstorming, a piece of paper for drawing. That can literally be any kind of paper that you like to draw on. Just pick some paper that makes you happy. I have a lot of different kinds of paper that make me happy. So if you know you want to pick something like that, please do. Your favorite drawing tools. And if you want, you can also grab a ruler or straight edge if you like to have very neat panels. I'm going to be freehanding it today because this is a low stakes environment, but you know, whatever you're comfortable with. So I'm just gonna get us started by creating sort of like a layout for what we're gonna be doing today. And then we can get into the workshop itself. So basically I'm gonna walk us through like a series of prompts, and for each prompt, we're gonna fill in a different portion of this layout. So if you have a sheet of paper here that you folded in half, you have like a cover, an inside with 4 boxes in there, and then a back. And if you wanted to make this into a zine after, you could totally just fold another piece of paper over it and make a cover for it. But you're gonna basically have your first panel is your first page, your next 4 panels when you flip it open, and your last panel on the last page. And that's gonna kind of structure the flow of our narrative today. So I'm just gonna let people take a minute to get that situated so that we can move through the prompts as easily as possible. So I'm just gonna give everyone kind of a minute here to get that set up in whatever way feels good. And once that's all set up, we are entering a radical imagination zone. And I just wanted to put that out there because I'm going to be asking us to think very freely about what, you know, almost a utopic ideal kind of world is like. And I know, at least for me, it can be hard to kind of let yourself go there and, you know, oh, but that's not realistic, but that's not achievable, but that's not, you know, I want us to kind of like let go of all of those things and just imagine the world as we wish to see it, without hangups about what's possible, what's doable, what's achievable. And I'm gonna say like what we want to see in our lifetime, but also maybe in, you know, a few lifetimes, or, you know, you don't have to think so strictly about, you know, it's more like what would make you happy to see in your lifetime, not like what is possible to see in my lifetime. So I want people to really just let go of all those kinds of hangups and, you know, just allow yourself to think what would this world look like? And so to get us started, we're just gonna take a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, and just make a list on your scrap paper, in your journal, you know, wherever feels comfortable for you, to think about what changes do you want to see in your lifetime. So I have some of my own examples that I would optimistically love to see in my lifetime in this radical imagination zone. A free Palestine as a Palestinian, abolishing police and prisons would be great. Borders gone. I mean, as somebody from a refugee family, borders have absolutely destroyed so many parts of our lives. No borders would be great. Environmental climate justice, that's very impending and present, and not impending, but like actually happening. So just take a couple minutes. You know, these are broad, and we're gonna get more specific later. These can also be personal to you. They don't have to be, you know, I've kind of picked topics that are very, you know, have great impact on the whole world or on certain countries, but, you know, you can also pick things that are more immediate to your life than that. So you don't have to think within that framework. So yeah, just a couple minutes to brainstorm. And I have to say, doing workshops over Zoom is much more challenging because you can't really read the room and see if people are done with the activity or not. So, you know, I'm hoping to give enough time, but also not too much. hoping that that's enough time. That was 2 minutes. Next thing we're gonna do is take a look at this list and pick one thing that's sort of calling to you most in this moment. Just how you're feeling. Maybe you wrote something down and you look at your list and you're like, oh, if this happened, all these other things I also want would also happen. You know, like maybe there's something that's sort of like encompassing for you. Maybe there's something that's just been on your mind a lot lately. So just pick something that's calling to you right now in this moment. And on the last page, so, you know, we have one, and then we have these panels here, and we have this back page. On this back page, just start to draw. And if you want to start like sort of doodling imagery in a notebook, I find that can help me a lot of times if I'm not sure how to start. Sometimes I'll start just, you know, doodling things in my notebook or on my scrap paper and then move. But again, low stakes environment. You know, we're just dreaming here. So think about what might specific things in that world, if this world came to pass, what would things look like? You can think about what things would look like on the street, in the home, neighborhoods, what buildings might look like, what people might look like. Maybe forms of transportation would change. Maybe the ways we communicate with each other would change. And I want to encourage you to try to not use words, like try to really think visually about how things would look. How would art change medicine, family? You know, start thinking about different ways that you might be able to visualize this different world. And I know that it's hard to sometimes try to envision this. I'm going to give us 7 minutes for this section so that we really have time to kind of like think it through. And I'm going to give us 6 minutes for this section. Sorry, we have a lot to get through. We have 6 minutes. You can always come back to this later if you really feel like this world needs to be fleshed out more and you didn't get to it. We've got about 2 minutes left, just as a time check. And you don't have to draw the whole world. You know, you can draw one scene for that world. All right, that's about time. So even if you didn't get to finish, you know, the dreaming about these worlds doesn't have to end with this workshop. So now I want you to flip it over to the very first front page. And now thinking in relation to what you chose to draw before. So for example, in my drawing, I chose to think about family in the context of like a free Palestine. So what does family look like if Palestine is free for me? So in contrast to what you drew before, you know, draw now. Draw what things look like now. So I'm gonna set the timer here for 4 minutes. Again, a minute less than what I originally said. All right. So now we sort of have a beginning and we have an end. And so I'm pretty sure you might be able to guess what's going to go in the panels in between. So that we have enough time to share, I'm going to cut this down and give us 10. I'm going to give us like 7 to 10 minutes for this section. So thinking about where we are now and where we would, in our wildest dreams, like to be, you can list up to 4 things that would need to happen between now and then to get from the now world, or your first panel, to the future world, or panel 6. And then just very, it doesn't have to be, none of this is too elaborate, but sort of in sequential order, thinking backwards, right? Like, okay, if we're here now, but we want to get there, what needs to happen in between? Write 4 things that would need to happen. And draw each of those things individually in the separate panels. So, maybe they don't happen sequentially. It doesn't matter. Just draw the 4 things that need to happen. If you can't think of all 4, that's okay too. Yeah. Speed, brainstorming, and drawing at the same time.
Hey, we have one question from the audience. Hillary is asking if you have any tips if you're getting stuck on this step.
Yeah. I think the tip that I would give is like also continue to think wildly, like not realistically, if that makes sense. Like, you know, we've dreamed up these sort of like very seemingly, some of us maybe like difficult to imagine scenarios. And so conceivably, like there would have to possibly be a series of also difficult to imagine scenarios, like to bridge that gap, I guess. I don't know if that helps. But like I find myself as I'm doing this, you know, imagining something that in itself, like something as an interim that in itself could be like an endpoint for something, for another kind of wild dream, if that makes sense. Like a revolution happening is in itself like a dream, and maybe like revolutionary ideas are like what some of us have. So like that in itself could be an endpoint, but it could also be like a step on the way to something else, if that makes sense, I guess. So just to like kind of you know, unleash, I guess, our like practical restrictions on our imaginations, and allow ourselves to also continue to imagine unrealistic things as like intermediary steps. At least that's what I have to like push myself to do for my particular prompt. Yeah, thank you for the question. I'm gonna give us another few minutes to keep brainstorming or drawing. Okay, that was a timer. So gonna take a pause here because I want there to be time for people to share. I would love to see if anybody is excited about what they've made, even if it's not like totally finished. I will share mine. I didn't finish mine, so I'm just gonna share mine, which has very sketchy drawings, and no one's gonna judge me, and no one's gonna judge anyone else. So this is a space for us to dream and imagine, and you know, hopefully, even if we're not totally done with our stuff, we can share if we feel compelled. So I'll start. So my thing that I picked was a free Palestine. So, and when I was thinking about what to focus on, the thing I just started drawing, because we didn't have much time, was family. I started drawing like what family would have looked like for me if like my family wasn't ethnically cleansed from our homeland and living in a refugee camp, and I was living in the United States. And so I drew how the world is now. So once the world was a place where families were separated, lived apart, people grew up not knowing their cousins and just looking at photo albums and wondering, who are these people who I'm related to? What is Palestine? You know, when will I get to meet my family members? You know, freedom of movement doesn't exist, and people aren't able to kind of communicate together. Then everything started to change. You know, there were radical shifts, uprisings in the United States that ended US military aid to Israel. And then uprisings in Palestine, where Palestinians and Israelis came together to also oppose their government and the occupation structure. Then people all over the world started seeing all of these chain reactions of revolutions, and borders started to disintegrate. And you can't see this like last panel because I didn't get to it, but the next thing after borders disintegrate is that Palestinian refugees who currently live in refugee camps like the one my family lives in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, all over the Middle East. Now that the borders are gone, they're able to go back. And now we have a world where everyone can live together and grow up playing with their cousins. So that was my story. And I would like to know what your stories are. If you'd like to share, please raise your hand and then say your name and where you're coming from.
Hi, my name is Tenley. I'm in Emeryville, California, which is near Berkeley and Oakland. So once the world was a place where we didn't take care of the planet or the animals. We kept the animals in cages. We polluted the sky and the land. We killed animals and acted like they were our chattel. We put them in, we killed all of them. There's a bunch of them there. Then the world started to change. We signed an accord with the bears not to harm them anymore. We closed the stinking factories and made the sky clean again. And we let the elephants put the bad poachers in cages, assisted by the rhino and the lion. And I didn't get to the last panel in there. And then here is the world where all the animals are having, you know, their space, and we recognize that we're just one among many animals that live on this planet, and we all have to share this planet with each other.
I love that. My favorite part was the accord with the bears. That was pretty great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi, I'm Justin. I live in Portland. My mind kind of went to one place, and so I kind of just followed it. It was weird for me to start from the ending and then go backward and work it out that way, but here's where we are. Here's a mall. There's a couple of people in there. You can see there's a bunch of stuff on sale. This one's closed. This one's coming soon forever. So that's the way the world is now. And for things to change, here's the scientists coming up with the cure for corona. Malls close. This rich landlord, he has an epiphany. All the artists, filmmakers, farmers, they just start moving. Now we've repurposed these old malls to places where people can shop and live and musicians play and you can visit your neighbors, places for people to live.
Cool. I love the Monopoly man guy, landlord guy. That was pretty great.
Thank you for doing this too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Hi. Everybody does that. My thoughts were, so let's see, starting out in isolation. So we're all sitting in our houses watching our screens, or more, whatever, we're all out in the universe by ourselves. There's all these little people, all these little stars. I guess I'd like to ask your advice, because to me, getting from there to a point of integration, I came up with like shared experiences. So like kind of the pathway would be like sharing experiences, but I didn't know how to put that in a picture, and if you've got any thoughts. And then shared experiences, shared values, which I have nothing for, leading to possibly trust, and then love. So these are all pretty generic, whatever. But my end piece is like where we're, all eating together, or sharing thoughts and wisdom, or dropping all the crap that who we pretend we are, and just joining up truthfully with each other.
Yeah, I think like that's great. And, maybe one way to think about it or frame it would be, what are the structures that are, what are the things that are keeping us apart? What are the structures that are keeping us apart? And how do you, I guess like identifying what those structures are, and then thinking about what would be needed to actually get rid of those, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Hello.
Hi, I'm George from Brooklyn. Mine is kind of similar to the last person that went. The first image here is just people kind of in their own bubbles, not really, they're sort of confirming their own beliefs, not really aware of what's going on around them. That's where we are now. I didn't finish all the panels, but the first panel is that the hottest new birthday gift is union memberships. The second panel is Facebook decides to become only coupons, and that's CNN announcing it, and stocks are tanking. But that's what happens. I didn't get to the other panels, but something about like required classes being about listening and questioning assumptions. And then the last panel I have just shows people having more empathy with the people that are around them.
Cool. Yeah, I really like the use of color. I think is that the first one we've seen that used color. That was great. Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello. Oh, are you muted? I can't hear you. I think you're still, I think maybe it's the headphones. Sometimes that happens to me where if my headphones are plugged in, like the
Hey,
mic.
someone is messaging me. I'm gabrielly. That's Gabrielle.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
All
I
right,
can
cool.
hear you. Yeah.
My name is Gabriella. I'm actually in Melbourne in Australia, so I'm not in the US. And I did my comic on, because I've been thinking about how it's cute to kind of like, I guess, scale down a little bit into smaller communities and rely kind of basically to kind of get rid of capitalism, but
Great.
so the first panel here is I didn't really know how else to put it, but it's a girl and she's at like the grocery store or something, and her card is getting declined, and she's looking very flustered and stressed about it. I could only find 3 things for the next 4 panels. The first was the redistribution of wealth, and it's someone holding up Jeff Bezos. Is that how you pronounce his name? It's holding up his head, and then basically redistributing his wealth. I don't want to actually kill him. I just want to like, you know, I just don't think it's fair how much money he has compared to.
Yes, I agree.
And then the next one is global basic income, but like I couldn't figure out what to draw for that one. But I'll figure something out. And then the last one is is letting like the barter system become a little bit more mainstream so that we don't rely so much on money, I guess, and it has a more intimate community feeling, I suppose.
I like sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's all I've got for now. I still need to find like a 4th idea.
And then did you want to share did you have a last or the first image you drew?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. It's basically a farmer's market. I'm not that satisfied with this idea of representing the utopia in my head, but it's the best one that I could come up with right now. But yeah.
Yeah, I like that you put in there, you know, the barter / like trading, you know, economy idea. I think that was a nice addition. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Collier, and I am coming from upstate New York. And the idea that I was going for is sort of like radical empathy. So this is the world now. It's basically like a skyscraper with all these different windows. I only got a few done, but it's like people doing their own thing. This one is a TV just being static, and people are just sort of living their own lives. And then I drew myself in the middle, looking out the window. And then
you're frozen.
And I kind of took it as like steps I can take to get there. So can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah, you unfroze, sorry.
Okay, cool. No worries. I've been having issues lately. So I took it kind of as steps I can take to become radically empathetic. And so the first one is seeing the needs of others. And then the second one is acting on what I see and helping other people. So it's just these 2 hands. And then it's like not having any expectations from being helpful. So we have these 3 people just looking happy because they were helped, but don't necessarily have to like pay that back. And then it's the last panel is me planting some plants, so it's continuing to do the work even past the step. And then the last one is sort of this banquet table with a bunch of food on it, and there are going to be people over here, and this big tree with a swing on it that's like a community garden.
Awesome. I love the interplay between the apartment building on one side and the banquet table on the other when you flip it.
Thank
That's
you.
really cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Alif. I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia, and I'm making comics about family. So this is a family relationship where the kids is struggling with her homework, and the father is just got home but still have to argue with his work on the phone, and the mother is getting tired and overwhelmed from doing housework. And for the first panel, the family is doing laundry together. And the parents is helping the kids doing her homework, so she didn't get confused. And then on the holiday, the father is ignoring the work phone call. And then still they will have their me time, their own me time, like the kids going to school, the kid going to the work, and the mother is staying at home by her own choice. And this is the last panel where the family is having a nice picnic in the outside. And you might be wondering, where is the mom? And I think the mom is not into outdoor lives and to social things, so she choose to stay at home and having her own me time.
Nice. I love that. I really also
Thank you.
bold line work and like the thick marker you chose to use. That's really nice to see.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Jada. I'm a child, yes, but mine is like kid-based, of course. But so mine is when I'm with my friends, we're like always doing like we're like pretending that like magic is real and stuff. So like I decided to do something about that. So this is like the world without magic. I don't know if you can see it that well. It's like a city. Everybody's on their phones and stuff.
Yeah.
And then over here, like I drew people that like kind of like over here, like this is like the person, this is like the bad guy who almost represents like all the bad people in the world. And this is like the good guy who represents all like the good people in the world. And over here they're fighting like the good people in the world versus the bad people in the world. And then over here the good person is winning a battle, and this world is turning into like almost like a candy world. And yeah, and then it turns into like this perfect world that like everything's like perfect, and that's like almost like what people would be like.
This is like a big ice cream cone with a cherry on top, right?
Yeah. Instead of like people wouldn't be like on their phones, they'd be like having fun, wearing cool outfits and dressing up. Like it wouldn't be like all just like all the time.
Your phone. Yeah, I love that. I think a candy world is a much better world than our actual world. I'm here for candy world. Thanks for sharing. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for sharing. It was really inspiring to see everybody's work, everybody's dreams. You know, this is just hopefully like a framework for thinking through some of these things. I know we didn't have a lot of time and it was sort of like a tall order. So thanks everybody for just going with it. And if you want to share anything, you can post it to Instagram, tag the Believer Mag, @Believer Mag. That's the handle. And yeah, thank you all so much. Please share, post, tag on social media, and yeah, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for your generosity with your dreams.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you. This is so fun. Oh,
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. Bye.